Couple more people coming in here. So, hello. Thank you so much for being here on this Friday evening to join us for the Redondo Beach State of the City Address for 2019. My name is Julie Brown, and I live in Redondo Beach with my family. And it is my pleasure to be with you here this evening. Here we're going to welcome our mayor, our wonderful mayor, Bill Brand. He's going to share a lot of wonderful information with you tonight. But before I invite Bill out, I would like to share some personal information about your mayor. Bill Brand was born in Dallas, Texas. He moved to South Bay in 1966. Where as an 8-year-old boy, he took his first swim in the Seaside Lagoon and thought he landed in heaven. He grew up in Palos Verdes, and although school interfered with his surfing and basketball, he managed to graduate from PV High. Bill moved to Redondo Beach in 1980. He attended El Camino College. He graduated from Long Beach State with a degree in chemical engineering. He worked as an engineer for Fluor Corporation and became an expert in air quality control equipment for large power plants and oil refineries. He earned an MBA from USC with a concentration in finance. He has worked for American Airlines at LAX for 40 years as of this April, where he still works as a crew chief managing activities on the tarmac. He's traveled to over 20 countries, mostly to surf. He bought a house in Redondo Beach on Broadway in 1998, where he still lives. He became active in Redondo Beach politics in 2001, when the heart of the city proposal was to allow 3,000 condos on the AES site, and it was approved. In 2004, he co-founded the South Bay Parkland Conservancy and served as their first president. The SBPC is still active 15 years later. Bill served on the Redondo Beach Growth Management and Traffic Task Force in 2008. And as an activist, Bill co-authored Measure DD, which passed overwhelmingly in 2008, requiring a public vote for major upzonings like what will have to happen at the AES site. Bill was first elected to the City Council on a platform of slow, sensible growth in 2009, representing District 2. After years of grassroots efforts and multiple initiatives, Bill successfully led the effort to stop the rebuilding, repowering of the AES power plant. He was reelected to the District 2 City Council seat in 2013. In response to the huge CenterCal project proposed for King Harbor, he helped craft and campaign for Measure C to ensure a balance between development and quality of life in the city. Measure C then passed by 58% last March and went on to be certified by the California Coastal Commission with no changes. Bill was elected mayor, as you know, of Redondo Beach in 2017 to serve a 4-year term. Given all those accomplishments, Bill still says that his biggest achievement was getting married a little over a year ago to a wonderful lady who loves him just for who he is and not for anything he does. I also have some more personal information to share with you about our mayor, Bill Brand. He still surfs and rides his bike all the time throughout the South Bay. So if you see him, give him a wave. He loves to swim distance in the ocean when the water is a little warmer than it is now. And although he loves to travel, he has been much too busy to do traveling now that he has 2 jobs at the American Airlines at LAX and being the proud mayor of Redondo Beach. When he can, he loves spending time with his 3 siblings, his wife's mother and daughter. So as you can see, we have a very well-rounded mayor. I would now like to invite you to join me in welcoming your mayor of Redondo Beach, Bill Brandt.
Thank you, Julie. Good seeing you. Thank you, Julie, for doing that. Welcome to my second State of the City address here in Redondo Beach. It's good to see everybody. Thanks for braving the cold weather. There was actually frost on my lawn this morning. I had to take a picture of it. But this is your meeting, really. When I was kind of an activist and they had these State of the City addresses, they were always run by the Chamber of Commerce, and it was at the Crown Plaza, and it cost $50, and it was at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, and I could never go, and most people couldn't go. So I thought, if I'm ever mayor, I'm going to have one where the residents can attend, it's free, and I can take questions. So I'm still going to do the Chamber of Commerce one like I did last year, but this is for you guys, and we'll have a little question and answer session afterwards. So, sorry I don't have a teleprompter, so I'll be turning my pages if you don't mind. And I'm hoping a future mayor will carry on this tradition of doing two State of the City addresses. First, I want to acknowledge some of my fellow representatives. I've been been mayor for 2 years, on the council for 8 years before that, and everybody really, really works very hard. And you got 5 council members here, and I don't know who all is here, but is Nils Nierenheim here from District 1? There's Nils. Give Nils a big hand. Todd Lowenstein from District 2. There's Todd. Christian Horvath from District 3. There's Christian in the back. John Gran from District 4. Don't see John, but give him a hand. Laura Imdy, District 5. Did she make it? I don't see her. So anyway, we all work very hard and spend a lot of our time and energy trying to make the city a better place. So you have some very dedicated people. I'd also like to thank our school board. We have 5 school board members: Mike Christensen, Brad Waller, Brad Serkin, who am I forgetting here? Anita Averick, and Dave Whitkin. I'd like to call out Anita Averick in particular because she's termed out this April, and she serves 8 years on the school board. So let's give her a big hand for all her long-term dedication for the school board. And congratulations to Raymer Flynn. Raymer Flynn is on your ballot. We have an election coming up. There's 2 school board seats open. There's only 2 people on it. Raymer's one of them. She was heading the Redondo Beach Ed Foundation for the last few years, and she's just fantastic. So I can welcome her to the school board. And we have 3 other elected officials in Redondo: City Treasurer Steve Deals, City Attorney Mike Webb, and City Clerk Eleanor Manzano. All of them work really, really hard for the Redondo residents. And lastly, in the audience tonight is somebody who's become a great friend and a good friend of Redondo Beach, and that's LA County Supervisor Janice Hahn, who's out there somewhere. And there she is, really right in the front there. Somewhere down in the front row. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what the LA County Supervisor does or is, LA County is 88 cities. It's got 10 million residents, and they have a budget of over $30 billion. So, we're very fortunate to have Janice Hahn is our representative on the County Board of Supervisors. So we're very lucky to have her and be such a good friend of Redondo Beach. So thanks again, Janice. As an aside, I got to tell this story because I just love telling it. Back in 2011, when I had figured out that you didn't need all these new coastal power plants, and AES in Redondo Beach was thinking about, they were submitting an application to build yet a new one, and we had figured out I didn't need them all. And I was going around to all the other elected officials, state officials, federal officials, county officials, trying to get them on board with the idea of permanently retiring our power plant. And it was only Janice Hahn, who was our U.S. Congresswoman at the time, who heard me and said, "Okay, Bill, I'm with you. What do you want me to do?" And I mean, I've talked to everybody else, and it's very frustrating. And I'll just never forget Janice Hahn stepping up when she didn't have to, and she went against her base a very strong financial base, i.e. The trade unions, and said, yep, I'm with Redondo Beach, I'm with the South Bay. One of these power plants is going to retire, and I want to see it be Redondo Beach. And she crafted a letter to the chairman of the Energy Commission, Robert Weissenmiller, and really stuck her neck out when she didn't really have to. So I'll always remember that. And I want to thank our staff, Redondo Beach City staff. We have over 400 employees in the city of Redondo Beach, excuse me, you know, from police, fire, public works, our professional supervisory personnel, janitors, secretaries, clerks, librarians, department heads, the staff here tonight. Thank you, Jack, and any group I've forgotten. You know, they really work hard to maintain our quality of life, and I just like to give them all a big round of applause. So let's see if this PowerPoint presentation works. I hope so. There we go. I'll talk a little bit about the city makeup. A lot of people don't realize, you know, you've got 5 districts in Redondo Beach. We're a charter city. There's about, I think, 120 charter cities in California out of 400 and something. Got a council mayor form of government. Council's elected for 4 years, limited to 2 terms. Mayor is elected for a 4-year term, which is a little bit unusual for a city of our size. City's made up of 5 districts, and we have a total of 9 elected officials. We have a city manager who's not an elected official, but a professional with years of municipal experience. He's pretty much the key leader of the city. Takes direction only from the mayor, well, I shouldn't say that, takes direction from the mayor and city council. He's really our only employee as elected officials. He directs the entire staff, does all the hiring and firing. All the staff report to him, including our chief of police and our fire chief. Our chief of police, Keith Kaufman, and fire chief Bob Metzger, we ought to thank them too. I don't think they're here tonight, but they do a great job. Well, let's move on to something fun right away. So I got elected a couple years ago. As soon as I got elected, this gentleman by the name of Alan Sanford called me on the phone, like literally days after I got elected. And he had this idea for a music festival, 3-day music festival in Redondo Beach. And he was so excited about it. He'd thought about it. He thought Redondo Beach was just a great venue for something like that it had not been used yet. And he really had this in his mind. He was all excited, got me excited. I found out he owned St. Rock. He owned several restaurants in town. And he had actually managed the beach concerts in Hermosa Beach for many, many years. So, yeah, I thought it was a great idea. So immediately began working with our city staff. He worked closely with our police department, our fire department, our public works, the city council. And he, 3-day music festival with a lot of different groups. We thought it was going to happen last year. In fact, I made it part of my State of the City speech last year. But it didn't happen last year. There's a lot of planning got in the way and a lot of logistics. But it's happening this year. It's happening May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It's called the Beach Life Festival, and it's got a huge lineup of bands. Yeah, it's just kind of beach life bands. There's no real theme to it, but you've got the headliner is Willie Nelson on Sunday. Saturday is Brian Wilson, the headliner, and Friday the headliner is Bob Weir. But you got a lot of other bands that aren't just old folk bands, which most of those leads are. But, Ziggy Marley, I've heard a lot of different bands are good, Everclear, Sugar Ray, Jason Mars, Donovan Frankenreiter, I've seen him. So we're really, really excited about this. And he made a video that he passed me today at 4 o'clock, and I'm going to play it for you. So let's see if it works. Hey, everybody, I'm Mayor Bill Brand of Redondo Beach. Welcome to the Beach Life. We're warming up for the first annual Beach Life Festival over here in King Harbor, the Seaside Lagoon. It's going to be great. We're long overdue for something like this, and we're really, really excited. I'm just excited it's working, so thank you for that, Jack. So yeah, it's coming May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Tickets are going fast, so they have single-day tickets and all 3-day tickets. They have a whole plethora of different types of tickets. But we're really, really excited that somebody like him decided this was a good place to do this, and he's pulled all the strings to make it happen. So looking forward to that. So now that I get you all excited, let's talk about the budget. Try to make it quick, but it is extremely important. It's what drives the city. It's how we get things done. So yeah, we have a general fund this year, $94 million, and we will spend $94 million. So we had a little slight deficit there, a slight structural deficit, which we made up. Our number one revenue is property taxes, then sales tax, TOT bed tax from hotels, utility users taxes. Our expenses, the top of the list, of course, is public safety. We spend about 70% of our funds on police and fire, public works, parks, libraries. And the big challenge we have coming forward is continuing to fund our employee pensions, or CalPERS, California Employee Pension Retirement System. It's, something that many, many cities are grappling with. It's increasing quickly. We went up $2 million this year. It's going up $2 million next year. It's going up $2 million after that. And it's climbing to over $20 million in the next 4 or 5 years. So it's a real challenge for us to match our expenses with our revenue. But we do have a good credit rating. Redondo Beach just got a S&P credit, I think it was S&P, of a AA+, which is really good for a city our size, and that's because of our ability to manage our finances well. But as I said, we got many costs to cover. We spend about $65 million on our police and fire. So luckily, under the CalPERS challenges, we've built up something we call a CalPERS Reserve Fund, and that's up to about $8 million. So that's going to help bridge us to matching those expenses. But as time goes on, those are only one-time monies. And so at some point, we've got to match, our revenue with our expenses, either through revenue growth and or cutting expenses as we move forward. So Redondo Beach, is not a corporation in the sense that we don't give any bonuses, right? Everything we take in, we give back to the city and the employees. I work for American Airlines, big corporation. They make a lot of money, been doing really, really well. And what do they do with it? They buy back their stock and give big bonuses. So, they buy back their stock, drive up their earnings per share, drives up the stock price, right? And then you trigger the executive bonuses, and that's how that works. But we don't have any bonuses here. We're just pouring and reinvesting into our city whatever we get. Land use drives revenue and costs. As I said, our number one revenue is property taxes from housing, basically. But it doesn't cover our expenses or the expenses they generate. We only get about $35 million in property taxes, and of course we have a general fund of something in the neighborhood of $94 million. So we make up the difference through a variety of other means. But residential development does not pay. And a lot of people don't realize that. It actually costs the city money. Our best revenue driver, really, in a one-for-one basis, really are hotels. Hotels, if they're in the harbor, we get a lease. We get 12% TOT on our hotels, get sales tax. Right now, the new Shade Hotel in King Harbor is earning the city over $1 million a year. So it's been a big winner for us, as well as commercial and sales tax. So our sales tax growth has been very flat. And I think a lot of you can imagine why, and that's because the Galleria has been going downhill. A lot of people say, boy, that mall's dying, Bill. And I always respond with, no, that mall is dead. And even Starbucks and McDonald's were talking about pulling out. So Forest City owned it, and they owned other malls around the U.S., and they sold them to a company called QIC, Queensland Investment Corporation, i.e. the state of Queensland in Australia. And this was one of their properties that they wanted to reinvest in and redevelop. And so they came in right away, started working on plans, working with our staff, and trying to figure out what would work and what they could do. It ended up in front of the city council, and I'm happy to say that they came up with a plan, and it got passed by the city council just last month. So they sent me some, that's the old Galleria. They sent me some new, conceptual drawings they have of what it's going to look like. And yeah, we're very lucky. I mean, it's a big project. It's 1.6 million square feet, which is too big for my taste. But on the other hand, things are growing. They're going to have a hotel in there. They're going to have 300 residences in there, 20% of which is going to be affordable. It's all about affordability now, folks. I wish I could take back some votes I made. I approved some other projects my time on the council, and we should have been putting the screws to them to bring affordability to it, particularly the Kensington project, which is a big senior facility on Nob Hill and PCH. So all these projects coming forward really now are about affordability. But we also getting at least 75,000 square feet of office space. And that's important because we've learned that 93% of Redondo residents leave Redondo to go to work in the morning. People that work in Redondo Beach, 93% of them leave Redondo Beach. So we've got this huge imbalance of housing and jobs that's driving impacts to our transportation infrastructure and got us in our cars. So what we're trying to do is bring more jobs back to Redondo Beach. And so we mandated at least 75,000 square feet of commercial or office space. I wanted to do more, but yeah, we had to compromise and get something done. So new hotel, 300 units, a slight increase in retail development, and we also got $2 million for Artesia Boulevard. So that was a big gain that we got through the appeal process to get it in. So we're expecting, once the Galleria is completed in about 4 years, to bring in about another $3 to $4 million in revenue to the city. So let's move out of the budget. And what would be a state of the city address without talking about the power plant? So this is how I got involved in all this. Last September, I get this email. I get a lot of emails, and you can't imagine. You got to filter them. By the way, if you ever want a question answered, just email me at bill.brand@redondo.org. And if you forget that, just go to the city website. You can click on it, and I answer my emails usually. If you don't get an answer, write me again. Hey, Bill, you didn't answer me. But I got an email from the National Endowment of the Arts inviting me to Anchorage, Alaska for something called the Mayor's Institute on Community Design. And I was like, okay, this is a scam for sure. But the more I read it, I went, oh, well, maybe not. And it was not. It absolutely was not. And so what this was is something the National Endowment of the Arts does a couple times a year, I guess. They identify mayors throughout the country who have interesting projects coming, like this. And they invite them in, and they lock you in a room for 2 days with a bunch of other land use planners and experts from around the country, Chicago, New York, Portland, Oregon. And I think there were 6 or 7 mayors there at this time. And you talk about your projects, and you get feedback, and you learn what can happen or what to look out for and that sort of thing. So it was a very, very productive 2 days for me. And I made this video. A lot of you have already seen this, but some of you haven't. So I'm going to show you this video again and what I showed them that got them really excited. And it's good to this day. I share it all the time. So hopefully this one works. Welcome to Redondo Beach, California. This is the southern corner of Santa Monica Bay. Here is the 50-acre AES power plant due to retire in late 2020. This is one of 19 power plants sited along the coast of California that are either being retooled or permanently retired. This one will be permanently retired. There in the background is King Harbor Boat Marina with 1,400 slips and the beautiful Palos Verdes Peninsula. Here's the view looking east. You can see the power line corridor that runs 5 miles inland along 190th Street. And off to the right is a beautiful Wyland Whaling Wall. This is where the power plant sits today, on top of the old Redondo Salt Lake. This photo's from 1908. This particular site is state landmark number 373 in honor of the Tongva Indians who inhabited this area for generations. The community is now looking to capture a piece of its natural history and create habitat by restoring some of this wetland. This is the Redondo Beach Red Car that could deliver you from downtown LA in 30 minutes back in the late 1800s. Try doing that in 2018. Redondo Beach used to serve as the main port of Los Angeles back in the 1800s. Tall ships would moor at the wharfs and unload their cargo directly onto rail cars that ran straight to downtown Los Angeles. Redondo Beach has a very rich history. This is the eastern edge of the power line corridor in Redondo Beach. It stretches about 2 miles from the coast. Mostly it's nurseries underneath the power corridor. Those are some of the large towers that can be removed once the power plant is permanently retired. That's 190th Street to the right and Hermosa Beach in the distance there to the right. The larger towers on the left send generated power to the regional grid system, and the shorter towers on the right bring power to Redondo and provide startup needs for the power plant. Here's a street view of the power line power plant cluster that has marred our waterfront for decades. The orange bus there was on Pacific Coast Highway, where 80,000 cars a day travel. Here we are looking east again. That's a 5-acre parcel of land underneath the power corridor. That's the U.S. Post Office building there. This is all just east of the power plant. There you see the wetlands that are trying to come back. Coastal Commission has determined that 6 acres of the power plant site is existing active wetlands. There's the 1400 slip King Harbor Marina again. There's the entrance to the King Harbor Marina. We've been working with the 2028 Olympic Committee to get some Olympic festivities down here, hopefully even an event like the open water swim. There's our beloved Seaside Lagoon, which is a saltwater pool that's very popular in the summer. There's a small pier, a sport fishing pier we're going to rebuild, and there's our larger pier there in the distance. This is a view from the south of our beautiful harbor mouth. And this is our Class 1 award-winning brand new bicycle track. It's just west of the power plant, just east of the C-Lab building there, which is also part of the power plant site. And this is our big opportunity. Thanks for helping. So that went off really well in Alaska. They loved that. And one guy was just coming out of his skin, this designer from Chicago who helped design Millennium Park. He was really, really excited about that. So the site's for sale, and I have to be careful what I say here. The power plant's been for sale for a couple of years, and they're basically in closing negotiations, in escrow, so to speak, with a buyer. And so he's going to be coming to the public, I think fairly soon, to start to work on what will work for the public and for him. He's put up half of it for sale, and we've now submitted a grant application to the state for $30 million out of Prop 68 funds. He's offering up half the power plant site for now, 25 acres, at $2 million an acre, completely cleaned up. So that's demoing the power plant, remediating it for park uses, which is not cheap, and then selling it for $2 million an acre if we come up with the money. It's all very preliminary. Our grant application is exciting. We're talking to a lot of state officials. We've also going to form something called an Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District with the County of Los Angeles. Right, Janice? Yeah. Still got to go for a vote, and there's 4 of the people up there, so we're working it. Anyway, that's important because we'll be able to capture the tax increment that would normally go to the state and the county to help fund ongoing operations and other infrastructure needs for the next 30 years. So that's a big deal. And thank you, Larry Cosmont, for that. He's been one of the pioneers. He's been our consultant for a long time and been one of the pioneers for the enhanced infrastructure financing projects. So it's, to be continued, to be determined. Likewise, Southern California Edison, the whole power corridors in the EIFD. We've been having discussions with Southern California Edison recently about potentially buying the 5-acre site under the power lines just west of Pacific Coast Highway. The big Redondo Beach line, you look to the right of that, yeah, that's all Southern California Edison land under the power lines. So if the power lines come down, well, we want to get that for the public so we can preserve the view, have an open space for the public, do some habitat restoration, that sort of thing. Because if they do sell it, which is still up in the air, they're not a willing seller yet. They're just looking at it. In addition, they're doing something called a Methodist service study, which we funded. The City Council voted unanimously last June to spend $150,000 to have Southern California Edison look at the possibility of them removing the entire power corridor out of Redondo Beach. So just the fact that they're talking about these things and they're taking a serious look at it and working with us and the county and the state says a lot. But, like the power plant, it's still there. The power plant's still operating, right? It's still, power lines are still serving an important purpose. It's all still there. It's preliminary, but it's a long game anyway. And it's an incredible opportunity. So I just think with the right fortitude and the leadership and the persistence that we'll get there. But it is not going to happen next summer. So I know everybody gets so excited every time something happens. They think, okay, it's done. And it's just a long game. It's something we have to stay focused on. So it's a great offer that the guy's made, and he seems very genuine. Let's see where we're going. Yeah, let's talk about Artesia Boulevard. Last year, this slide said $1.5 million. And basically what happened was the city council really took a priority view 2 years ago on redoing Artesia Boulevard, upgrading it, finding ways to make it a great place to visit, and basically revitalizing another area of Redondo Beach that really, really needs it. So every time we looked at something, we considered funding it. Last year, the slide was at $1.5 million. You can see it, as I said, we just got $2 million from QIC. That's to be spent. We're spending $500,000 in various streetscape improvements, which we are almost completed on. We've issued $150,000 in city matching grants for frontage improvements. So if you have a business on Artesia Boulevard and you want to make some upgrades, you apply to the city and we'll match you 1-for-1. So that's been very successful. It started at $50,000, went to $100,000, now we're at $150,000. We just approved the other night $800,000 in park and beltway upgrades on the Edison right-of-way adjacent to Artesia. So that's going to be a great enhancement right there. And we've also allocated $100,000 to something called the GPAC, which I'll talk about. It's called the General Plan Advisory Committee, and they're looking at what other things they can do on Artesia Boulevard. So when it's all said and done, when we get the funding from QIC, we will be spending $3.5 million to do what we can to upgrade Artesia Boulevard and make it more of a place that it deserves to be. And there's some great restaurants there. I encourage everybody to. There's so many restaurants there that are so good, all of them. The Thai restaurant, the Blue Salt Fish Grill, lots of chicken restaurants, Middle Eastern food. It's really, really got quite a variety of meals to be had. There's the median upgrades we've done already. The signage, it makes a big difference. I wish I had a before picture, but little things like that make a big difference. And we really wanted to spend some money on it. So that's moving forward. Artesia was kind of neglected while the council was all focused on the waterfront. Artesia was just not getting the love that it deserved. And it's another great opportunity we have to further activate another area in Redondo Beach. As far as the waterfront goes, we're locked in litigation. I really can't talk about that much, but you guys are familiar. The Center Cal project fell apart. Measure C passed, and they immediately sued us like 4 times. So it was unfortunate. They could have come back and worked on a smaller project. They didn't want to do that till a year after they'd been suing us. And, all the waters had been soiled or soured, I guess. So we're still wrapped up in litigation. We're still talking, though. We're still trying to find a way out. It'd be much better for everybody to find a way out other than waiting for the courts to decide. Because if they decide, it could take 3 or 4 years before we get there. So we're hoping to clear that up, but we'll see. So talking about the GPAC, real quick, it's a 27-member committee. It's been going on for over a year. We're looking to redo our general plan. Our general plan is what the city uses to decide, how much development to put where and that sort of thing. You really need a good general plan, and ours hasn't been updated in about 25 years. So we're spending a lot of money doing this, and it's really important. Redondo Beach is, a lot of people don't realize how densely populated we are. We're 11,000 residents per square mile, right? Give you an example, Long Beach is 9,000 residents per square mile, right? We're right there with Santa Monica. Santa Monica is about 11,000 residents per square mile. Right next door to us is Hermosa Beach. They are the most densely populated area on the entire California coast at over 13,000 residents per square mile. So we're a very densely populated area. We also have an incredible mix of housing, right? We've got, single units, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom. We have lots of single family neighborhoods. We have our own housing authority, right? We have a Section 8 program in Redondo Beach. So we have it all. We got a lot of senior housing, and we just adding 300 new units out at the Galleria with 20% affordable. And we added 53 units, 1 South, out on PCH. And we added Legato, which is 115 units. So Redondo Beach is like the poster child of what the state is trying to accomplish through all these various laws they're passing to try to take over our zoning and land use. So I'm really upset about this, and you should be too. Because last year, or actually in 2016, I think they passed 15 housing bills, or 2017, 15 housing bills, all geared to take away our discretionary authority on what to build where. And it's because of the housing crisis, the affordability crisis, and all these things. So Sacramento's taken this broad brush all over the state. And many, many local elected officials I talked to are very upset about this. And there's a war, a war about to rage in Sacramento. And it's already started because the new governor he didn't start off making friends, I'll tell you that. He started off by suing the city of Huntington Beach for not meeting their housing allocation. And so it's very complicated, and there's a lot of opposition mounting, but they're moving forward and they're moving fast. And this new bill, just to give an example, SB 50, it was last year's SB 827, identifies in our area what we should be concerned about, high-quality bus corridors. So they're using the bus frequency to determine what the zoning's going to be. And if you're within a quarter mile of a bus stop that has no more than a 15-minute interval of stopping during rush hour, then they're going to take the density limits off. There'll be no density limits within a quarter mile of that stop. The height limits are going to 45 and 55 feet. The minimum parking requirements can be no more than half a car per unit. Right now it's like 2 to 2.5 in Redondo Beach. So because we have a bus in Redondo Beach on PCH, it's Metro Line 232, right? And we got bus lines going down Torrance Boulevard, going down Artesia. Basically, much of Redondo Beach, and frankly, all of Hermosa Beach, is going to fall under this type of zoning. So that's what got everybody iron. That's just Redondo Beach and the South Bay. So everybody all over the state, any elected official is looking at this, is very nervous. Basically, what you have is a state senator, his name's Scott Wiener, who is out of San Francisco. And yeah, their solution to all this is just to increase density. And my first question to him, if density were the answer to affordability in the housing crisis, why is San Francisco at 23,000 residents per square mile, the most expensive place to live in all of California? So, anyway, that's to be continued. Anyway, so there's some, the Olympics are, okay, let's talk about something more fun. The Olympics are coming to LA in 2028. And I was here in 1984, and I know a lot of you were here too. And you wouldn't have known the Olympics were in town in the South Bay. I mean, we got no events, no festivities. You could go to the Coliseum, and that was great. So when I was mayor and I saw the Olympics are coming, I was like, well, we got to have some festivities. We got to have some events here. So we started looking into it. And we formed a subcommittee, myself and Councilmember Gran and Councilmember Narenheim and some of our staff went down and talked to the LA 28 committee about a year ago. And they were really excited, saw the redevelopment moving forward and the power plant going away. And we always thought that the open water swim, there's this event in the Olympics called the Open Water Swim. It's a 6-mile swim in open water. We always thought this was a perfect place for it, and it is. So, but right now it's in Long Beach. So we're going to try to steal it from them. Don't tell anybody I said that. But, any swimmer you talk to will tell you the best water for something like this right now in LA County is right off our coast here, the Esplanade. So how cool would that be to have them swimming down to PV and back with this incredible venue, viewing venue for anybody in the Olympic events. So we'll see. Regardless, we'll have some festivities here as long as we stay engaged with the LA 28 committee and do the right things to make ourselves attractive. It'll be a lot more fun than, like in 1984, you didn't even know that it was here. So on that vein, we've been having we had our very first open water swim last July. You have a big one in Hermosa Beach every year, Dwight Crum, peer-to-peer. We never had one in Redondo Beach. We never understood why. But if we were going to have an open water swim in the Olympics, we needed to get started on having our own. So thankfully, last July, we had our very first Redondo Beach open water swim. Again, Janice Hahn stepped up and paid for our county lifeguards, which is a big expense. I mean, you can imagine how many lifeguards you're going to have to be there. So anyway, I got another video, and I'll play that one. It's about our first open water swim. We're very proud of it. So let's see if this works. Is it working? Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Brand. I'm the mayor of Redondo Beach, and we just finished the first annual inaugural Redondo Beach open water swim. It was a 1-mile and a half-mile swim. We've been working on this for many months, and it went off without a hitch. We thought we were going to get a couple hundred, 300 swimmers. We ended up with over 500.
It was awesome. I can't believe it took us so long to do this swim. When we first thought about this, I thought, why don't we have this? Why don't we get this going? It's an awesome location, so I can't wait for next year. The water was super warm. It's a great location.
I think this is an amazing venue. Great water. I was here, I had a great time. It was for fun.
We were happy with the event today. It went smoothly, lifeguards were fantastic, and it was really humbling to have 500 plus people come down to our awesome water at Redondo Beach. I think the best water in LA County.
We're just really proud of everybody pulling together and coming here, and proud of the community and making something like this happen. We need more events like this, and we're working on that. So maybe we'll get the open water Olympic swim here in 2028. All right, folks, we'll see you next year. So we already got signups going for this year in July, so jump in if you want. They've got a half-mile swim, so it doesn't kill you. What else is coming up? Okay, so we got an election in 2 weeks in Redondo Beach. Everybody should have a ballot now. If you don't have a ballot, you want to vote, you need to call the county. County is running the election. It's an all mail-in ballot, so there'll be no polls open. But we usually get a better turnout when everybody gets a ballot. So we've made it easy for you. Yeah, like I said, feel free to call me anytime, bill.brand@redondo.org, or, call me at 310-809-4405. Everybody says don't give your phone number, Bill, but frankly, people don't call me. You'd be surprised. If they do call me, they really got something, so feel free to do that. Anyway, get educated, you guys. Get involved. We've got 20 commissions in Redondo Beach. If you want to get involved, just step up. It's not a big, huge commitment, but you'll make a lot of friends. You'll learn some stuff, and we need your input. I mean, that's how the city betters itself. And it's a lot of fun. And so anyway, that's kind of it. We're going to take some questions now. Thanks for coming here tonight. And I'll invite Julie back out, and we'll take some of your questions. That's it. She's got Julie's got some cards, so we'll take those first and see how long that takes.
Sure, there we go. Thank you so much for those of you that filled out the cards. I know he did address some of the information on here, but I'm going to go ahead and ask him in case he wants to speak a little bit more on those issues. Okay, the hardest question first. You ready?
Okay.
How is married
I haven't seen
life?
these, by the way, so.
No, he hasn't. How is
See how I
married
do.
life? That's the hardest question.
Yeah, that's an easy question. Married life's great. Yeah, no, I hit the jackpot in all departments on that one. Yeah.
Yes, you truly do look like a young, happy couple.
Oh, yeah, we're having
Absolutely.
fun.
The first question is, when will they break ground on the Galleria, and how long will its construction take?
Well, as I said in the presentation, it's going to, if all goes well, it'll be about 4 years. They're expecting the next year in permitting and that sort of thing, and then about a 3-year build time. So, yeah, that's what they're telling us right now.
Okay. The new Galleria Renewal Project includes $2 million for Artesia Boulevard improvements. How do you envision this funding improving the look of the street?
Well, that's to be determined, you know. There's people who are a lot more experts about what Artesia Boulevard needs than myself. I saw my goal and the council's goal is getting as much money as we could for it. We're doing a lot of stuff right now, but yeah, there's a lot of other things that could be done. It's great to have that money to invest in it. So far what we've done has worked out well, but there's more to be done, and with $2 million, you know, we don't have it yet. And we're also getting, I don't know if I mentioned this, you're also getting from the Galleria $3.5, $4 million for art projects in and around the Galleria through the John Parsons Art Fund. So, and the Quimby fees, I don't think I mentioned that either. So the Galleria is bringing $7.5 million in Quimby fees for parks somewhere in Redondo Beach, as well as $3.5, $4 million to the John Parsons Art Fund. So,
Great.
how it gets spent, you know, that's to be determined.
Okay. Next question is, are you really planning on outsourcing the RBPD?
BPD?
RBPD.
Oh, PD. Yeah, no, I love that question. Ever since I even broached the idea that I was going to run for city council, they've labeled me with this, he's trying to outsource the police department. I never ever said it. I never wanted to do it. I never believed in it. And, you know, it's one of those things that political opponents latch onto because they know it sells well and it just scares people. And it would scare me, but I never ever, I mean, I love our police department. I mean, they're the best. And you know, that's why ultimately, you know, the most important thing we do is provide good police, good fire, good public safety, good public works, those sorts of things. I mean, those are the have-to-haves. And the nice-to-haves are the libraries and the parks and the other stuff like that. So, yeah, it comes up every time. If I run again, oh yeah, he's trying to outsource the police department. Yeah. And it continues. I've been in office for 2 years. I have to run again for 2 years if I run. And they're already starting, so whatever.
Okay. Nothing we have to worry about then.
No.
When can we start putting a new boat ramp in the harbor?
Well, that's part of being tied up with the litigation. So the location of the boat ramp is still to be determined, although with the passage of Measure C, that kind of relegated to either the Mole D area or the Mole C area. So it's to be determined. I was very encouraged by what happened down in Shelter Island, San Diego recently. I forget the amount, but I think they got $9 million to refurbish their boat ramp from the State Department of Boating and Waterways and some other sources. And they've refurbished their boat ramp. So, yeah, I think when we do decide on a location, the funding will be there from the state to get it done.
Okay. What is this water filtration system Hermosa wants us to help solve?
It's an infiltration project right next to the Hernando Drain, and this is a great project. And what it does is it will capture the initial flush of a big storm that would normally go out into the Santa Monica Bay and heavily pollute the Santa Monica Bay. That's what goes on right now. And what this would do is take the first flush and infiltrate it into the soil right there so that, you know, it doesn't reach the ocean. And these are common projects. There's one in Manhattan Beach. They're popping up everywhere. And the state was funding this project. And Hermosa Beach had agreed to be the lead agency. They agreed on the location. And when the local residents found out about what it was, they were none too happy. So they decided it belonged in Redondo Beach. And so, yeah, we've looked at some areas. We looked at the Southern California Edison site. They were not interested at all. AES, it's still an operating power plant. So it remains to be seen what happens. There's I call it a joint powers authority. I'm not sure it is, though, but with Hermosa, Manhattan, Torrance, Redondo Beach, we're part of a watershed group, and we're looking for ways to do our part to treat stormwater, capture, storage, to clean up the Santa Monica Bay. So we were all in partners with this, and it looks like it's falling apart because I think Hermosa Beach is not going to do it now. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
That's a long answer, sorry.
If we do have the Olympics come here, how do you personally plan to participate?
Oh, well, I'm going to try out for the open water swim.
Of course.
Or be in the, maybe they'll have an old folks Olympics or something. But how do I plan to participate? I'm going to go and, enjoy the festivities, and just enjoy it all. Hopefully I'll still be here and enjoy it. So it's only 9 years away, frankly. So it comes up fast. The planning's happening. So hopefully I'll have to figure out how to enjoy myself when it gets here.
Great. In the meantime, you'll be practicing your swimming in the ocean, right? What are your plans?
Yeah.
What are your plans or expectations with SB 50?
Well, I want to kill it. Last year was SB 827. This year, it didn't get out of committee last year. So you know what they did? They formed Scott Wiener's own special committee. And so this year, it's going to get out of the committee. And it just, it's a bad idea. It gives the state the authority to take this broad brush throughout the entire state. I mean, all our communities have all these different challenges and needs, and like Redondo Beach, 93% of the people leave Redondo Beach to go to work. So we don't have a housing shortage in Redondo Beach. Sorry, we don't. We have affordability shortage, and what we really need is more office space to take the pressure off of the transportation sector. But Sacramento wouldn't know that. They just know that they need more housing, so they look all around, just tell everybody they don't have enough housing, build more housing, build, and they don't realize the impacts that it's going to have on a local community. So local communities are best suited to deciding how to meet their housing needs, how to meet their infrastructure needs, and how to meet their financial needs, right? As I said, residential is a money loser. What pays for us is sales tax, TOT tax, that sort of thing. So, it's kind of an unfunded mandate, frankly. And there's all kinds of change. Every year there's a new twist to it. So I think the state just needs to stay out of local land use planning.
Okay.
Not that I have an opinion.
The next question is, how can we keep the green line out of our backyards?
Oh boy, that's going to be the next battle, I think, because I don't know, it depends. Like right now, what's technically going on is they're doing an EIR on 2 different routes, one down Hawthorne Boulevard and one through the backyards, basically, people along the existing right-of-way. So, I'm in no favor at all of running a train that goes every 7 minutes through people's backyards. It's going like twice a day right now. So, I'm against it running through their backyards. I'd like to find a way for it to go down Hawthorne Boulevard. We need that type of rapid transit, absolutely, especially going down to Torrance and all that. It's a very expensive project, in the billions, over $1 billion. So, but as I said, right now it's being analyzed and it's to be determined, and it's going to be important for your elected officials and for all of you to show up and say what you think about it when it gets to that. So we'll see.
Great. Okay. I have a question of what is a skate park?
It's a skate park. Well, it's got these bowls and these things and wall. You can go to Hermosa Beach. Hermosa Beach has one, very small one, right on Pier Avenue, and Ardmore. Been there a long time. But QIC, who designed the Galleria, decided they wanted to have something of excitement there in the middle of their giant mall. And so they decided on a skate park. And it looks really cool. They worked with one of our local residents here who designed skate parks. And it's just a recreational amenity to attract people and give people something to do. My understanding, though, is it is also something that can be covered and they can do other things with it. So, yeah, a skate park is something that's really... I mean, Redondo Beach doesn't have a skateboard park. You go all up and down the coast and other areas, inland, they have skate parks. Somehow Redondo Beach doesn't have one. So this will probably be our first actually dedicated skate park, and we're trying to get another one. It's skateboarding, but it's not just skateboarding. It's actually a lot of other things. They make them for... what am I trying to say? Physically challenged. You see people on wheelchairs in them, people in scooters, rollerblades. Yeah, so it's just a recreational amenity.
Okay. How has being mayor changed you?
Has been mayor changed me? I don't know. It's been so long. I guess I've always been kind of a patient person, and you know, people give you a hard time about something, and you just kind of rub your chin and go, that's interesting. I guess it's taught me how to keep things moving. You know, I usually just be on the other side as an activist, and that's very different than actually governing and having to, look at everything. And it also has taught me the power of activism. You know, activists are very powerful in a community. If you're a very educated and I guess somebody who really gets out there and does the work, talks to all the elected officials, focuses on one subject, like I used to do, it's very, very powerful because you can talk to everybody and people will turn to you as an expert to try to get the answer. Because as an elected official, you have to look at everything. You have to become kind of you have to understand it all. And so you don't have time usually to drill down like you used to. So it's taught me kind of a different way of thinking about things as a whole.
So the next question is, how do you handle all the conflict that comes your way?
Oh, I guess you just get used to it. You know, I always get amused at new council members. They're so appalled at what they were calling him or her, and can you believe this and can you believe that? And you just, you got to filter it. There's a lot of, personal attacks that really just have nothing to do with what you're doing around the city. And it's often just a ploy by your opponents to malign, denigrate, and insult. That's what happens a lot when people are losing. It's like the Socrates quote. What is that? Oh, God, no, I can't remember it. The loser is, when the debate is lost, slander is the tool of the loser. And so, I'm just here to get things done, and I have a certain policy, and I'm trying to push them through, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. All the other personal stuff just kind of... But we fight about important things, and so it's important what happens in the community, and it can be very contentious, and people are passionate about what they want to see happen. And so, you just keep going and try to follow what the community wants, and
What's going to happen to the waterfront?
Well, I hear the waterfront. I think I already talked about it a couple times that, we're in litigation right now. But looking out, it is going to get revitalized. Revitalize, not supersize, is my favorite slogan. And it is going to get there. How long it takes, that's really the big question. It could happen sooner rather than later. It could take a long time. But it is going to get revitalized. We aren't going to become Santa Monica. And I'm very optimistic, actually. So we'll see. That's to be continued. I wish I could talk more about it, but we're in litigation. So.
Well, the next question was, what is your vision for the waterfront as a place for both residents and visitors can enjoy. What is your vision for it?
Well, my vision all along has been an integrated plan, a comprehensive plan that takes into account what will happen at AES along with the waterfront. I think we need to focus our recreational and open space uses more down on the waterfront and protect the views, spread out the impacts, and, kind of focus on open space instead of just, what we've been doing over the years, and that's piecemeal overdevelopment. So we have incredible opportunity. The video I showed you of the power plant, everybody looks right across the street and they see Redondo Beach as an incredible opportunity. So we're going to get there. It's been messy, and we're going to break some more eggs, but we're going to make an omelet. It's just going to take some time.
Good way to put it. And the last two questions are, what do you hope to accomplish in the next 2 years and 5 years?
Well, I might not be here in 5 years, but in 2 years, I really just want to solidify the city's finances. That's like the most important thing to me. And I want to set the table for what can happen. I want to help set the table for what can happen at the power plant and the waterfront. I don't think anything big is going to happen there in the next 2 years. But you got to set the table so that what the community wants moves forward, and you don't end up with something moving forward that really does not have support of the community, which is what's happened over the years. Not just this Measure C. I mean, it goes, I can just march back to when I first got involved, and there's just been a series of missteps by the elected officials who really, they say it was a failure in outreach, and really it was a failure in vision. So I'm trying to set the stage so that the residents' vision can move forward, whether it's working with the new owner of the power plant or whatever happens down in the waterfront, so that we can have this comprehensive integrative plan that is reflective of what the community wants, and it can actually happen. So it's important to work with the developers. People think I hate developers. I love developers. Developers are the ones that make things happen, right? They know how to make things happen. They're willing to put their capital out there, and they know how to execute. So we have to find one that'll work with the community, and the community be realistic about what can happen. And I'm really very optimistic. It's going to take a little while.
Okay, well, thank you so much for answering all the questions that were given to
We
you.
out of time? You see how much time we got left? We got time for a few questions. Somebody wants to shout some questions from the audience? There you go. Why not? I'll repeat the question.
I'm District 1, and I'm the turned-out chairperson of the Preservation Commission. This is also for Supervisor Hahn. We've got the open water competition coming. We have a very valuable historic resource. That's the Ainsworth Court Staircase.
Oh, jeez.
The oldest structure in Redondo Beach. It's the only thing left from the Hotel Redondo. It belongs to the county. A part of it has been sectioned off and is ice planted. And the very bottom of it, the railing and the balustrade was carved away for a public bath. I'm just wondering if somewhere in the short or medium term, we can get that staircase restored.
That is a great question. I have not talked to him about this. So what he's talking about, what he's asking about is something called the Ainsworth Steps, which were from the old Hotel Redondo back around the turn of the century. And they're still there. And half of them are buried under ice plant, and half of them are all still there. And they're in really disrepair because we try to repair them, and the county tries to repair them, but it just doesn't quite work because of the surfacing and everything, and it always falls apart. And right now it looks terrible, and I was down there taking pictures of it. I was taking pictures of it 2 days ago because I've been reaching out to Janice Hahn's office, because it is county, and I've been talking to her assistant, Jennifer Lamarck, and we're going to meet with their director of beaches and harbor, or deputy director, or whatever it is. And it's amazing, Andy, that you brought that up, because I've just been reaching out and trying to see if there's something we can do. So we'll see. It's a great, it gets so much, it gets used so much. I don't care if you go down there on a Tuesday, at 9 o'clock in the morning and it's raining out. There are people going down those steps from all over Los Angeles County. So, yeah, great question. I like that. We're working on it, and we'll see. Anything else? Anybody got any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sure totally out of left field, but that's okay, you're used to it.
I'm gonna let you.
A big beneficiary of the changes happening to the south of 190, regarding the power lines and everything happening from Prospect on down the hill. It's going to be all those people who live on the north side of 190. They're going to benefit hugely. It's like somebody who placed a bet 5, 8, 10 years ago and bought a house over there is looking at a huge increase in the value of their property as this aspect goes forward and changes that we're working on. Is there any approach to those guys in terms, since the power company is looking for money, looking for offers to help out with the cost of renewable? So anybody approaching people on the north side of 190 is saying, look, you guys are going to benefit hugely. How about participating?
Yeah. So those who didn't hear, his question was, have we approached the people on the north side of 190th, right across from the power line corridor, to help with funding and push the effort along to remove the power lines, because they're going to greatly benefit from that huge windfall. I would say good for them. I'm happy for them and I hope it happens. A lot of those people I've spoken with lived there a long time. They didn't buy because they thought the power lines were coming down. But if any of them want to contribute to whatever the costs are associated with taking those power lines down, and they have some, what do you call it, disposable cash laying around, then yeah, we'll be happy to help, take the help. So no, to answer your question, we haven't approached them, but I'm hoping they do get that huge windfall. And it hasn't been decided. You know, Edison's just looking at this. We did a study. The city spent like $20,000 several years ago, about 8 years ago, on something called a power flow analysis, and they did say that yes, you're not going to need that power line corridor if the power plant's permanently retired. You can move that infrastructure and that interconnect out to the La Fresia substation, which is east of the 405 freeway. A lot of people don't realize those power lines snake all the way out to east of the 405 freeway. They go over Columbia Park in Torrance. And there's more land under those lines in Torrance, way more than in Redondo Beach. So if they're not going to be needed, then yeah, Edison, we're probably going to find a way. And who pays for it? Yeah, that's the next battle. So one battle at a time. Anything else, you guys? A couple more here.
With all the projects and development, the Galleria, all the retail space, all the businesses, all that growth, what are the chances that Redondo Beach can become a fair trade city?
Well, I don't know that much about being a fair trade city, so I'd love to learn more about it. Yeah. You know what? Send me an email, send me some links. I'm happy to read up on it. I've heard about it, I've read a little bit about it, but I'm no expert on it. So,
To be a fair trade business, all you need to do is to have sell two items that are considered fair trade and be part of the fair trade federation.
well, send me a link. I'll read about it, and I'll get back to you. He's asking me about fair trade. How can Redondo Beach become a fair trade city? I really don't know too much about it. I've just heard the term. So, yeah, build.brand@redondo.org. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, in the back there.
So last year, Torrance kind of fumbled with the firework thing off the beach that they had for years, the private funding. And I really appreciate Redondo stepping up and trying to make it happen. And there's just not enough time, and I understand why. Has anything happened with trying to coordinate between Torrance and Redondo to put on a great show?
Yeah, so I'm pretty certain Redondo's going to have their fireworks on 4th of July this year. Yeah, certainly, if they don't, it will be against my kicking and screaming, just so everybody knows. But they're also talking about having a fireworks show off of Avenue I. So that's to be determined. And yes, there's been a lot of discussions going on. Councilmember Narenheim is working with the Business Improvement District in Riviera Village. They're the ones who are actually looking at having a fireworks show off of Avenue I, the same one that had been off of Torrance Beach for many years. And we'll have our fireworks off of Seaside Lagoon. So we make money on those fireworks, actually. So I'm pretty certain we're going to be having that again this year. It's a great tradition. So, yeah.
Mayor Brandon, I gotta say, I love saying that. I'm going to ask that the project that's being proposed in the East Zone District, that's going to have quite an impact on Prospect Boulevard and the residents around the area. When this is proposed, is the city going to have an opportunity, the residents, to actually vote to approve this, or can they do this without the approval of the residents?
Okay, so that's a legal question, and I really don't know the answer to that. It's something that people are bringing up. I think the Beach Cities Health District thinks they already have the zoning and they don't have to get a zoning change. But I've heard enough to know that this is probably, well, our city attorney is going to have to make a call. This council is going to have to make a call. And yeah, that's to be determined. So if I had an answer for it, I'd give it to you, but I really don't. I can take a couple more questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I read an article, I think it was the Daily Breeze, about the commercial properties between Pomona and Barrow on 190th, of course, the north side of the street, about maybe trying to attract technology companies, and I guess there's been some initial opposition to that. Are we too preliminary in the stages here to talk about that?
Well, not really, because they must have had 20 people at the last council meeting who live in that area who were none too happy about that GPAC, General Plan Advisory Committee, looking at turning their neighborhoods into something called a tech corridor. And this neighborhood is just like Mayberry, so how would anybody feel about that? But I think you got 27 members of the community in a room with a blank sheet of paper trying to come up with a way to fix that 93% imbalance of people leaving town to go to work. We need to have more jobs, and they drew something on there called the Tech Corridor, and that was like over a year ago. And then they sent a survey out and they showed that. So it caused a lot of consternation. But I just signed a letter. Councilmember Horvath crafted a letter to go to the GPAC saying, we don't appreciate you trying to rezone this residential neighborhood for whatever you're calling it, Tech Corridor. So I don't think it's going anywhere. But I was very, very proud of the residents. I mean, they really, when they figured out what was going on, they really stepped up and did exactly what they should have been doing. So anyway, I got time for two more questions.
If the power lines come down, the power line right-of-way east of PCH, up over the hill to Prospect and on down to where the dog park is going to become some of the most valuable beach view and city rights view property available on the coast. Is it fair to assume that the possibility of selling that off for low-density, large lot, estate-type development is a way that the city might recoup some of the cost from getting the power lines down?
Yeah, the city or Southern California Edison, or that with the laws they're writing in Sacramento, you'd be very limited on what you could allow there. If you have underlining residential zoning in that spot next to PCH like that, the density becomes unlimited. And the height limits go through the roof, and you have no control over it. So right now it's only zoned for right-of-way, and whether the residents vote to rezone it for residential remains to be seen. It's an idea that people have floated, what you said. It's just to be determined whether these state laws pass, whether Southern California Edison takes the lines down and they do want to sell it, what the community rezones it as, who buys it, we just don't know. It's a lot of, the only stage we're at right now, folks, is talking to Edison about maybe taking the lines down. That's where we are right now. But, you immediately go to ideas like this, which might actually unfold. So I got time for one more question. You want to go ahead?
Okay, doesn't somebody already own that land just east of the power plant privately? Wasn't that bought?
There's two parcels there.
And we keep our Redondo Beach Fire Department, Redondo Beach.
Oh, those are two good questions. There's two parcels just east of the power plant. One is something everybody calls the dirt farm. It's privately owned. It's zoned industrial. I got elected mayor. The guy who owns it called me the next day. No, really, the next day. I'm all go, hey, man, I'm the mayor. Guys, hello? Hey, I own this, I won't say who. He wants to build a hotel there, wants all this stuff. So he's got to get a rezoning, and he probably eventually will get something. And then the land next to that is owned by Southern California Edison, the right-of-way under the power lines. The fire department, we've issued we paid $30,000 for the county to estimate what it would take for them to take over our fire services. The reason we did that ultimately is because we see a lot of other cities doing it, like Manhattan Beach, like Downey, like all these cities are looking at going to county fire. So we paid for the county to do an estimate. We got a preliminary estimate back, but they have to do a lot more work. But there's no imminent decision about going to the county fire or not. I mean, everybody loves their fire department just like they love the police. But the initial study showed that we were going to save $4 to $8 million going to the county and claiming that we're going to get better service. And oh, by the way, the firemen just took a vote and 70% of them want to go to the county. But this is shaping up to be a typical thing. It'll probably end up in a public vote if the council decides to even consider it. So stay tuned. These things have gone for public votes. I think it was Downey, like 80% of the people voted to keep their fire department. El Segundo went through that. El Segundo was like 90%. And other communities vote to do it. So I'm not here to tell people, or make that decision. I wouldn't be comfortable doing it. I think it'd be something suited for a public vote. If the numbers are there, and our staff is looking at it right now, and we're going to get more numbers. So, but it is being looked at. A lot of communities have done it, and they're happy with it. I haven't found anybody yet who wasn't happy with it, but people love their fire department. I'll take one more question, and then this is
When the power lines come down, can you keep at least 1 or 2 towers for a zip line?
a zip line. Well, we're going to end on that note because I like the way you think. I'm thinking just dump right in outside of the break wall and swim in back and take a chairlift back up to the top and do it again. So.
Bill, you do have one more question.
One more,
right
okay,
here.
one more.
So talking about the residents being terrific and stepping up to the plate and your activism, for which we are all really incredibly grateful.
Bye, Janice. You thought you were going to sneak out, didn't you? Yeah. Busted. See you, Janice.
So residents are active, and the more they can be, great. And activism, the question about SB 50 was mine, and my question to you is, I think that it's clear that many and most people don't understand the imminent danger of that, and I think that nothing is going to happen unless all the cities get together and gang up on Wiener. And what can we do? How can you help us help you and get us all together to have the power to make the statement that is going to really resonate loud and clear and make sure that this does not happen?
It's a great question. No, I can answer you right now. You write an email to Ben Allen, write an email to Almer Tsuchi, and call them on the phone and talk to their staff and say, I'm really concerned about this SB 50. You better not vote for it. And Ben Allen did not vote for it. He was one of the people in the committee last year that kept it from coming out of committee. But they need to hear that because there's a lot of pressure in Sacramento for everybody to get on board with the governor. It's like one of his main platforms. He just, no sooner did he get sworn in, he said, okay, we're suing Huntington Beach and we're coming after all the cities who think they're going to control their land use and zoning. So, yeah, it's shaping up. The first thing you can do is just write them and write them again so that they know and tell your friends to write them. It's really easy. I mean, you just go on their website, you shoot them an email, and they get it, and their staff reads it, and then you just call them on the phone. The whole thing will take you 15 minutes, and it has an impact. And when you see them, you tell them that. So I've already told them, they know how I feel, and there are groups forming up and down the state. They're talking about it in a statewide initiative to stop it, so it's going to be a big, big deal. Anyway, thanks for coming, you guys. See you next year. We're having another one with the chamber at the Crown Plaza sometime.
Thank you.
Yes, that was wonderful.